My family has owned a cemetery for nearly 5 generations, and I've been working there since I was 12. The house that my family built on the property is about 30 yards back from the main office. One night, when there were kids, my grandpa and uncle were up late. My uncle happened to look out their window and swore to my grandpa that he'd seen someone walk behind one of the trees. The lamppost illuminated the very first handful of plots and headstones on the other side of the road, but at that point, they were undisturbed. My grandpa and uncle stood at their window for a little while, with my grandpa ultimately teasing my uncle for being scared. However, when they woke up the next morning, the police was there. In the hours between when they looked out the window and saw the burial plots undisturbed at about 4 a.m. and the time they noticed the commotion, about 7 a.m., 7 of the plots had been dug up. The headstones were stacked very deliberately, like a house of cards, and behind them the caskets were on top of each other. The first one laying flat, the next one laying straight up, then flat, then straight up, with the final one being flat. It was like a pattern, with basic casket dimensions taken into account. That's nearly 30 feet in height. I'm sure you can imagine, even with the machinery in the present day, that would take at least a bit of time to accomplish. But no, back in the 1950s, this was somehow done in a span of less than, I'd say, about 3 hours, with no one that lived in the house able to hear it going on outside. I used to work at a cemetery. I was originally hired because the cemetery had a period of time where they were experiencing some people sneaking in to perform rituals. I was 21 years old, doing this as a side job, with nothing to protect myself. I was given a barricade scanner and was told to drive through the entire cemetery every hour or so to patrol it, and to scan each of the pre-posted barricades to prove I was actually doing it. Now, this cemetery was massive, pretty much broken into 3 parts. The newer part, the historic part, and the famous part where celebrities were buried. I did this routine once and never did it again, going so far as to break the barricade scanner so I didn't have to do it. While I was driving, it was pitch black, coming around a long curved road. My headlights picked up what I could have sworn were a pair of legs walking across the pathway, but only up to the knees. Shoes, pants, knees, then absolutely nothing. I stopped in the road and just watched this pair of legs cross 10 feet in front of me. I put the car in reverse, did what felt like the longest K-turn of my life, and noped it straight back to the parking lot. Just imagine, you only see somebody's legs and not their upper body. I only saw the lower half of this person's body. I don't even know if to call it a person or a humanoid figure, because I could not see anything besides its hips. Everything on the upper part was missing. I worked the 4 p.m. to 12 a.m. shift in a cemetery. The cemetery generally closed at about 6 p.m., so around 5:30 p.m. I would lock the main gate, then would start driving through the cemetery to notify any visitors that we'd be closing. So one day, I'm in the middle of my final drive-through and see an old lady slowly walking the sidewalk alongside a mausoleum. The mausoleum was hundreds of feet long, about 20 feet tall, and had no breaks in it. It was one long stretch. The road ran directly alongside the sidewalk of the mausoleum. So I pull up behind the lady to tell her we're closing, and I get out of my car, take my eyes off of her for just a split second as I'm getting out of the car. And when I shut the door and look back up, she's gone, completely vanished. There's no way she could have ran out of my eyesight that quick. It's just not even possible. I didn't think anything paranormal at first. I just thought maybe I lost sight of her. But the sidewalk and road were completely empty. I ran all the way around to check the back of the mausoleum, but no one was there. Across from the mausoleum was a whole field of graves, and I eagle-eyed every row, not a soul in sight. I finish up my round and sit in my car the rest of the night in a well-lit area. I saw a fully visible person. I know it, no tricks of light, no hallucination. Plain as day. So what was that? Was it a ghost? I'll never know, maybe.